The father who accused Ezra Miller of grooming their child now says that they were mistaken. Now, this is coming from Josh Wilding over at Comic Book Movie. But in 2022, the Flash star Ezra Miller was accused of grooming by multiple parties. Around the same time, there was also claims they had assaulted people, harassed them, and potentially committed serious crimes like burglary and trespass. What the hell? The whole thing is pretty convoluted at this stage. The cut is a pretty in-depth breakdown if you want to check that out. But Miller has since said they're seeking treatment for complex mental health issues. Among the most serious allegations were those from parents Sarah Jumper Eagle and Chase Iron Eyes. They were looking for a protective order from Miller on behalf of Gibson Iron Eyes, their child. They claim Miller had convinced them to send Gibson to Bard College at Simon's Rock in Massachusetts to create a sense of indebtedness, and that the actor had piled Gibson with drugs and alcohol before physically abusing them. Gibson denied the claims in a statement and accused their parents of emotional and psychological manipulation while defending Miller. Sarah Jumping Eagle hit back at that by saying the Justice League star had brainwashed the child through emotional abuse. Their uncle, Chief Bear Cross, also made a series of damaging claims, but Chase Iron Eyes has now changed his tune, saying the accusations stem from third-party information, courtesy of a witness who later recanted their statement. I want to offer this on the drama 3 years ago when I filed a petition and claimed that Ezra appeared to have groomed Tokata. Chase Iron Eyes started. I made that statement in my pleading in a time of absolute war based on information from a witness who then recanted and said nothing happened that they could infer anything inappropriate from. Thus, I immediately withdraw the court filings. He added, now we're doing our level best to move on, to reconcile, to heal while remaining supportive as a father. As long as Tokata's good, we're good. These are real people living real lives, and once you're in that fire where there is no anonymity, there's no safe space for you to retreat, that's a strange place, and it's not inevitable. It takes a lot to enter the fray again. The whole thing is pretty strange, and it's unclear whether this is Chase Iron Eyes wanting to set the record straight, part of Miller's attempt to mount a comeback, or none or all of the above. It's also important to note that just because someone recanted their statement doesn't mean it wasn't true. Either way, it would be a struggle for Miller to return to Hollywood after everything that's happened, and even after James Gunn's praise for The Flash, it's hard to believe they'll play the Scarlet Speedster again. Oh boy. All right, this has a lot going on. Let's start off with this. Absolutely correct with that last statement. Just because someone recants doesn't mean things didn't necessarily not happen one way or the other. At the same time, if this is a situation where this isn't just some planned comeback, this isn't like put money in the pocket of the parents or anything like that to try and rehabilitate. If this is a legitimate situation where the parents are fully taking back what they were accusing Ezra of, that is, I appreciate them doing that, but then what they did was absolutely foul. Allegations of any sort of grooming, of any SA, of anything of that regard can literally ruin someone's life. I go back and forth with Charlemagne the God. There's times where, you know, what he has to say is great. There's times where Charlemagne can be pretty problematic. But I do give him credit for a number of quotables that when he drops them, I'm like, that's actually a decent amount of wisdom. He has coined the phrase, instead of belief, he says we need to listen to all victims, take them completely seriously, everything that they bring forward, hear it out, offer support, don't judge, things like that, but then we need to believe all facts. So in this case, you have a situation where, you know, the supposed victim was denying things were going on. In this case, it sounds like maybe the parents got bad information, were worried about their child, but again, to throw those accusations out there, again, if this is all fake, if this person that gave you this information, like you have ruined someone's life in that regard. Now mind you, to be checking into any sort of rehab situation, to know that we have a bunch of other scenarios. There's still the video of Ezra choking some random woman, and it was never addressed ever by anybody, WB, the news, Ezra themselves. Nobody ever talked about that, so we don't know what's going on with that. So there's like other things going on with Ezra that need to be addressed. So nobody's saying that all of a sudden, oh, just wipe it clean, whatever. But to even have this thing to pile on, like, I don't care if there were other wrongs going on here. This is one of the most major ones. You genuinely potentially ruin someone's life with false accusations. And I get it as a parent. A parent is going to defend their child and they're going to do it. But, like, for the love of God, we have to be careful with this stuff, man. It literally could ruin someone's life here. And so I'm not caping for Ezra. I'm not saying, oh, welcome them back with open arms and everything, whatever. But, like, I do say in this particular instance, again, if the father is genuinely admitting that this isn't true, something's got to be done on that, man. That's awful. That is absolutely awful. We have to give reverence. I get really mad when people use the claim of some of the worst things as a victim. So again, pedophilia, SA, things like that, like those situations, and they almost make a mockery of it by having these false accusations one way or the other. I'll never forget, there was a black woman who got pulled over by a cop, was arrested for a DUI, but then claimed that this cop, SA'd her, beat her, called her all sorts of N-words and stuff like that, and was about to hold a whole press conference to hold this cop accountable. It was like a 24-year-old, like, white dude. It was like his first or second year on the force. When that body cam footage came out, man, none of that happened. He was the most professional and courteous cop you have ever seen. And on top of that, she was saying all sorts of stuff of like, oh, I'm going to tell him you did this to me. I'm going to tell him to do that. I'm going to ruin your career, all that. Like, that kind of thing infuriates me because there are real people that go through this kind of stuff, and you make it that much harder for people to believe it when you do things like that. So I'm glad that the father set things straight. But again, if this is genuinely true that all of this was false, there is a special place for you for doing something like that, for traumatizing not only your daughter and Ezra, but for making it that much harder for people that are going through it. But I'm curious what you think, man. What do you think of this story? Do you think that this puts Ezra in any sort of a better light? How do you feel about hearing that this might have been false? All that, let me know in the comments.